Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Thank you very much for being here. Wednesday, April 9th at 8 a.m. on the dot. None of you a-holes can say I'm late. 8 a.m. Maybe it turned 8:01. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Sliwa Show, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube. We start at 8 a.m. and we kind of go until the show ends, whenever that is. Appreciate you guys hanging out. We got a lot to get into today. Cheers to anyone enjoying a nice cup of coffee or a tea or whatever it is that you're drinking. I still got my tea going on. About 10 days. 10 days so I get back into the coffee game. 10 days until I'm back in the coffee game. Busy day today. Busy day. I do have a guest as well lined up today. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of good stuff to talk about. A lot of things that will just make everybody even more frustrated from yesterday. So we'll get into it. A quote of the day: life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Phenomenal right there. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. You got a quote you want to share with everybody, feel free to throw it in the chat. If you don't have a quote, all good. Thank you for being here. If you guys don't mind taking a quick second, I guess I haven't been doing a good enough job of telling people to subscribe to the channel. If you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, I greatly appreciate that. It takes literally a quick second. It's free. You don't have to pay for anything. Get notifications, all that good stuff. Thank you very much if you guys don't mind subscribing. Let me give everyone a quick idea what we got going on for the show today, and we'll keep things rolling here. Okay, first thing we'll get into. Obviously, Lakers losing last night, just an awful end. Didn't get a chance to see two teams play this thing out. That was a really, I think, entertaining game, an exciting game. And I don't think it mattered who you were rooting for, right? If you're on the Thunder side, I'm sure you're kind of like, hey, kind of been cool to see this game play out with everybody having their guys. If obviously you're on the Lakers side and you're in a position right now where every single day, every one of these games means something to you, really shitty way to end that game. So we'll look back on the loss and then obviously the end of that game. Other side of it, thoughts on the matchup versus OKC. I thought that was an interesting couple of games against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Very impressed with the Lakers against OKC. Very impressed. And I'm sure a lot of people probably feel the same way. I mean, they put themselves in a position where they could have easily grabbed both of those games. So I don't want that portion to get lost in the officiating yesterday, or one official. So something to keep in mind there. Lakers and the Mavs tonight. So remember, I'm doing the show yesterday, and there were a lot of people kind of upset that the Lakers might be sitting their guys. Well, they didn't sit anybody, and everybody played big-time minutes. Bron played 35, just off the top of my head. Bron played 35. I think Reeves played 38 minutes. Luka was obviously above 30 minutes and was kind of trending towards 37, 38 minutes if it's not for getting kicked out. Lakers got a game tonight. It's a very important game tonight. That is a very unusual game. There's a lot at stake. It's an important game for the Lakers. Mavs need a win. Oh, by the way, Luka's going back to Dallas. Anthony Davis, I'm sure, wants to drop 35 and 15 on the Lakers. There's a game tonight. It's a very important one. So we'll get into that as well. My guest today is going to be Kevin Gray Jr., and Kevin Gray Jr. is part of that. There's a network called All City Sports, and there's a few markets that are focused on each markets. He's part of the Dallas City Network. So he's living, breathing, and dying Dallas sports on a day-to-day basis. They put out so much content about the Luka stuff, and we'll get his thoughts on everything obviously going on in Dallas for tonight's game. Couple stories around the NBA. We'll take a look at the standings. Ask Lee coming up at the end of the show. If you guys want to throw the Ask Lees have been okay. Let me take you guys behind the curtain here for a quick second. Of all the stuff that I do, when Ask Lee hits, like when you guys are actually asking some really kind of entertaining, fun, good questions, that's one of my favorite things to do on this show. So hopefully we get a little bit of that towards the end of the show today. We'll do a little Ask Lee, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Okay? All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Take a look at a couple of these comments here before we get started, and then we'll get the show started. Let's see what we got here. Good morning, Slee and the chat Migos. Look, I like this. When I feel like everyone's, together. Basically, I'm like, I'm just I'm like I don't know, like a father trying to bring everybody together. That's all I'm trying to do. Let's see what else we got here. I think a couple people had some quotes. Of course, people saying I'm late. That just comes with the territory. Where's a quote? I swear I thought I quote. If our lives are already written, it would take a courageous man to change the script. Chris, great quote. Really, really good quote there. If our lives are already written, it would take a courageous man to change the script. Here's another one we got here. Courage doesn't happen when you have all the answers. It happens when you are ready to face the questions you've been avoiding your whole life. Damn. Why are you guys making me question my whole life with these quotes? I'm just trying to get something to kind of get you through your day. You guys are going deep into my soul and saying, Slee, figure your shit out. Great quotes. Thank you for throwing those quotes in there, guys. I appreciate it. Coffee in the morning is good. It'll taste better with a Slee with show. Josh, good man there. Good man. Got to get some coffee back in me. Let me tell you the one thing I miss not having coffee. Okay? The one thing I miss without having coffee. I'm a coffee after a meal guy. You ever go to a restaurant, have a nice meal? By the way, I don't care what time it is. I don't care if it's 2 p.m. or if it's 8 p.m. I want something a little sweet with a little bit of coffee. That's what I miss there. Of course, I miss the coffee in the morning just to kind of get me going. But that little, the sweet and the coffee when I was at 710. Jorge, you guys know Jorge Briones. Jorge and I used to always talk. I'm like, Jorge, what's better with coffee and dessert? He's like, yeah, I know. I think we had that like Middle Eastern, Mexican connection there. I think it's the same thing for both cultures. We like coffee and dessert. What are you going to do? Like coffee and dessert. Look, I'm Latino. That makes me a coffee after a milk. I'm telling you guys, there's something about that combination. All right, let's it's a rich person tendency. It's a piece of sweet bread with a cup of coffee, like $2.45. All right, let's get the show started. Because if not, then I'm just going to sit here this entire time, and we're going to be doing this for the next 2 hours. All right, Lakers lost yesterday, if you guys didn't know, against the Oklahoma City Thunder. You know, I mean, the final touches on this, there's one thing I want to play that honestly is very odd from the post-game show that Jared Vanderbilt said. And I don't know jack-ish about that referee. And I think that there was actually something weird in the broadcast. Not weird, but during the broadcast, Billy Mack and Stu are doing the broadcast on Spectrum. And I guess that referee had gone to them and said he had lost somebody, a close friend of his, and just kind of wanted them to mention it on air that he had lost someone close to him. And they did that. Okay. I'm all for that. If situation, moment, whatever the case is, maybe it's a little odd. You don't really see that, but they did that on the broadcast. They did mention that JT, everybody calls him. So obviously this ref is well known. I don't know. Then again, I don't know these referees. It's not like I'm keeping track or a log of them. Bottom line, he had a bad day yesterday. And specifically, I'm talking about professionally. I'm talking about from a business perspective. His personal life, thoughts and prayers to whoever passed, because they did say that on the broadcast. A close friend of him had passed that day. I'm going to put that to the side. Like I said, thoughts and prayers to whoever passed that is a part of his life. Professionally, on the basketball court, he had a bad day yesterday. He took away what was one of the more exciting games in the NBA, not just last night, but just a phenomenal game in general. Just a really, really good game all around. However you want to look at that game last night, you had two teams going at it. Number 1 seed in the Western Conference, number 3 seed, hopefully holding on to that number 3 seed in the Western Conference. Lakers and the Thunder. Thunder trying to prove, look, we've had a bad couple of games, but we're trying to bounce back. Lakers, out of nowhere, play everybody. That's a conversation I'll have separately, but Lakers play everybody. That was a surprise to me. That was a shock. And there you are, final 6-7 minutes of the game, and then we know what happens. Luka gets thrown out. there's a couple quotes, after the game, what Luka said, but the video from Vando is the one I want to play most. Here's what Luka said. Luka said, "I never got a fan ejected, never. But if the fan is going to talk, I'm going to talk back, like always. That had nothing to do with the ref, so I didn't really understand." Okay? JT Orr is the referee. There was 7 minutes and 40 seconds left in the game when Luka got whistled for a second technical foul. Lakers were up 108-107. Orr also gave Doncic a tech in the third quarter when Doncic argued that a foul call was missed when Lakers forward Jared Vanderbilt was hit on the previous possession. So, and I'll play that here from Vando here real quick. How he got his first technical foul was trying to protect Vando. How he got his second technical foul was obviously running his mouth with a referee. Guys, I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that Luka doesn't have any blame in any of this. Luka does. Luka's problem, I think we all understand one of Luka's problems. Luka runs his mouth at the referees too much. So I'm not here trying to make it sound like he's he's a priest out there. He's the Pope out there. Nobody's trying to make that. Nobody's trying to give that comparison or now. I'm not at all. I know Luka runs his mouth. I've said it on here. I've said it either in the morning show or when I'm doing the post-game show that he bitches and complains too much. He's whining to the referees too much. And a lot of times I think it does affect his game. Maybe it affects it sometimes positively because he takes it personally, but I think more times than not, it takes him out of his game. That's an area for somebody that wasn't watching Luka Doncic every single day. Now that I've been watching him every single night, analyzing his every move since he's become a Los Angeles Laker, yeah, that's an area of his game that I don't like at all. I don't like it. Whining to referees all the time, complaining, and then not getting back on defense. That's not good for the Lakers. Comes with the territory with Luka. Yesterday was not one of those moments. I'm going to read you another quote here. Luka said, let's see what we got here. No, I'm just going to play this because I want you guys to hear what Vando said post game. I grabbed this from Dave McMenamin. Dave had this video on Twitter, on X. I'm going to play for you. It's a little odd. Basically, Jared Vanderbilt's trying to say he felt like there was something personal between that referee and Luka Doncic. So let me play this here real quick, and you guys can take a listen for yourself. Again, this is coming from McMenamin. This is Vando post game.
Yeah, for sure. He was he felt I got fouled, which I did get fouled on. I got stopped across the head. He was just telling the ref that that's what happened, and ref was just like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I can talk to anybody but Luka, obviously. So
said I'll talk to anybody but Luka. This is what the ref is telling Vando. So Vando gets hit across the head. No foul is called. Luka comes in to make an argument that, hey, Vando got fouled. I'm fighting for my guy. Luka comes back, or the referee comes back and says, I'll talk to anybody but Luka, gives Luka a technical foul. Keep listening to what Vando's saying here.
Anybody but Luka, obviously. So, it seemed a little personal at that point, but yeah, he was just advocating for me. Said I got fouled, and then ref. He said he wasn't trying to talk to. He would talk to anybody on the team but Luka. So I don't know what that was about, but yeah, jerky. But yeah, he was just advocating for me. Said I got fouled, and then ref. He said it seemed a little personal at that point.
So I want to stop it right there. Seemed a little personal at that point. Guys, I'm not here trying to play conspiracy theories. Is what it is. Lakers lost the game. The world's not going to end. Luka got called for a technical foul. The world's not going to end. Interesting quote. Kind of interesting there from Vando, right? Thought it was personal. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just kind of, I'm just sitting here trying to put the piece together. I'm like an investigative reporter. Sometimes they send me out and say, Slee, something fishy is going on here. Get under the hood and see what the hell is going on. No, but I just thought it was I thought it was just kind of a weird predicament, weird situation. Obviously unfortunate that that's how the game ended, but that's how the game ended. The Vando piece to me was the piece that was really like, all right, maybe this ref just doesn't like Luka. Maybe this ref was having a bad day and he decided to take it out on Luka, but it really did take away from a really, really good game that none of us got to see. None of us got to see the ending of. None of us got to predict how that game was going to turn out. And that's the part to me that sucks. And oh, by the way, Lakers needed that. I mean, these games are all important. What last night would have been if Lakers were able to sneak out that game, that means you just need one win in your final 3 games, and that's it. Number 3 spot is locked up. It's done. You still technically would have a chance at number 2, but each one of these games obviously means something, and that part was unfortunate. Let me turn gears here real quick because, obviously that was a piece of the game. That wasn't the entire game. Other topic that I had here, and I think is interesting. What do you guys think of the Thunder now? Because whatever my thought was, my interpretation of the Oklahoma City Thunder, guys, Lakers were toe for toe with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, punch for punch, the Lakers were right there against Oklahoma City Thunder. They beat them by 27 points. I genuinely did not think the Lakers were I genuinely did not think they were going to play their guys yesterday. We were having the conversation on here, and some people were telling me, Al, here are the Lakers again. They're playing with the gods. The basketball gods are not going to be happy about this. A lot of people say this is the problem with the NBA. Here you have a chance for a really big game. Everybody wants to watch the Lakers stars versus the Thunder stars, and we just assumed Lakers weren't going to play anybody. No, the Lakers played everybody. And I mentioned this a couple times yesterday. I really, really respected the fact that the Lakers decided, F it. We're playing everybody. We're trying to get another W with the Oklahoma City Thunder. I hate this. I hate the chatter that's out there saying, no, don't play your guys because you don't want to show that team what it is that you have. No, you already beat them. Don't show them any more of your cards. This is just my own thought process. Guys, it was April 8th. If the Lakers play the Thunder, they're not going to play the Oklahoma City Thunder unless it's at the earliest, the second round, but probably most likely it would be in the Western Conference Finals. Do you know how many things have to go between now and the Western Conference Finals for just those 2 teams to be there? I hate that. I hate that we're holding our cards back. It's April. There's still going to be another month until you potentially play that other team. But Lakers decided we're going for it. We don't care that there's a back-to-back coming up against Dallas. We're trying to be that squad in the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think just from a competitive perspective, I respected what the Lakers did yesterday. I respected that they decided, let's roll up our sleeves and let's go try to get another W against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then I thought the actual matchup against the Thunder, 2 really, really good games from the Lakers, wildly different games. The first game, it was all about defense. The first game, in my opinion, is a much closer model to beating the Oklahoma City Thunder than the second game. You can't give up 80 points in the first half. You can't have that many turnovers. You can't have that many points off turnovers. You can't have such a wide disparity in points in the paint. I mean, yesterday was an ugly game, and there were moments where I'm like, how is this a one-possession game? But Lakers hung around. I thought something J.J. Redick said in the post-game show. We talked a little bit about how the Lakers took OKC's best punches, and when the round ended, they were standing right there, and you got to see the opponent just kind of looking back like, Jesus, I got to go through this. It's going to be a tough game, or this is going to be a tough matchup, whatever the case is. I thought there was a lot of that from the Lakers yesterday. I learned in these 2 games against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and maybe if you want to even attach the game against the Houston Rockets, the Rockets game against the Thunder, I learned that the Thunder, no question about it, have flaws and are beatable. And whatever statistical greatness that they've done in the regular season means jack, once the playoffs start in a week and a half or whenever that is. I learned that the Lakers, at their best, I don't care which team it is, and we probably already knew this, at their best, they can hang with anybody. But I think the bigger question is going to be for the Lakers, can they make defense? Can they make defense their foundation? Because I don't like the idea of trying to score 125 points to win a game. I feel much more comfortable with the Lakers on the defensive side. But my thoughts on the matchup versus the OKC, Lakers, you guys can try to slice and dice this any way you want. Lakers were phenomenal in OKC. They were great in OKC. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to see the ending of that game the way we wanted to, but we know what the circumstances were. And we know when Luka got thrown out with 7.5 left, maybe Lakers lose that game by 8. I don't know. But maybe they win by 8. And I think that's the part where you kind of leave this emptiness from last night's game. But Lakers against the Thunder, they were phenomenal. I got no complaints there at all with what the Lakers were able to do against OKC. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Let's see what we got here. Lakers failing Luka and the fans. It's his it's his reputation. Lakers management, sit him down and tell him grow the F up. No repeat of Dallas. All right, let me try to take this here for a quick second. Last night was not on Luka. If you want to tell me that, hey, Luka's got to stop bitching to the refs, I'm with you. I don't disagree with that. If you want to tell me Luka's got to pay less attention to what the officials are doing, what they're calling, what they're not calling, and just play basketball, I agree with you. But nobody's going to be sitting anybody down. And I don't think that's a wise strategy if, you thought in your head, hey, let me sit down our best player. Do you guys see what happened to the Lakers the moment Luka left the game? OKC were like freaking piranhas in the water just waiting for a drip of blood. Luka exited out of that game with that second technical foul, and they were all over the Lakers, and the Lakers had no shot. If they started that game without Luka, they're probably losing that game by 25 or 30. Does Luka need to be more mature? Sure. Does Luka need to be smarter? Sure, absolutely. It's actually one of the questions I got for Kevin Gray when he comes on. I'm kind of curious, in the playoffs, what was Luka with the officiating and everything else? How much did it hurt them? So forth and so forth. So we'll get into that question. I appreciate the super. Hey, Slee, question. Can you challenge a tech call? No, you can't. Somebody suggested something yesterday too about I gotta be honest, the challenging and the replays and all. I'm good. I don't need any more of that. I don't need any more of that. Shit's gonna happen in a game, and you just kind of got to run with it. Yesterday, shit happened, and Lakers had to run with it. So no, I don't think there's any challenging to a tech call. But I appreciate the supers here, fellas. Thank you very much. OKC, just another team in the West at playoff time. I think they're better than just another team. You know what it could be? Honestly, what it could be more than anything else? Can't it just be a bad matchup for them? If I tell you what are going to be the toughest matchups for the Lakers in the West? Teams that come to my mind, I think Houston's going to be a really tough out. Really, really tough out. But the good thing for the Lakers is if they play Houston, Rockets also aren't a team that's going to be dropping 125 a night, which I think plays to the advantage of the Lakers. I think it's going to be two teams that are phenomenal defensively, and Houston's offense is not as good as the Lakers. Okay, let me give you another team that's going to be a headache. The Warriors. Warriors would be a headache. Now, that doesn't mean I don't know what the Warriors and the Thunder would be in a matchup, but I know that there's certain teams you want to see, other teams that you don't want to see. So, yeah, that part of it I would mention. I don't think they're just a playoff team. I really think they're still a really, really good team that could easily get to the NBA Finals. However, I think that matchup against the Lakers is probably not what they would be looking forward to. All right, let's get a couple more comments in here. See what else we got going on here. That ain't happening. OKC's not going home in the first round. What's up with Braun's inbounds? Yeah, too careless. Very careless. Let's see what else we got here. Lakers need to counsel him, not keep him out of a game. Yeah, I mean that. Listen, again, I'm gonna repeat this. Whatever I said before, I'll say it again. I'm not here trying to tell you that Luka's completely innocent with his complaining to the referees. I'm not, because I've talked to you about it's frustrating watching him sometimes. So I don't want to make it sound like that because that's certainly not the case. Okay, I'm going to shift gears here for a quick second. I'm going to save more of the Lakers-Mavs conversation when Kevin Gray comes on, because I think that's going to be a perfect kind of transition to the game. But Basketball Reference, I wanted to see, all right, here's what happens now for tonight's game, Lakers and the Mavs. You need a W tonight against Dallas. Here's what the Lakers cannot afford. They cannot afford a bad game tonight. They just can't. If you lose tonight, now you're really, really getting into some interesting territory of losing that number 3 spot. And I got to be honest with everybody. So a couple things happened last night. The Rockets sealed up the number 2 spot. Done. So this is what we know in the West. OKC is 1, Houston is 2. Can't you just see if the Lakers lost tonight, even if they won tonight, can't you see Ime Udoka and the Houston Rockets coming into town on Friday and saying, no, we're not going to sit anybody. We're going to play this game. And we'll just sit our final game on Sunday, because they're already going to get minimum of 6 days off. And if they decide to sit everybody on Friday or on Sunday, then that means add a couple of days, they're going to get over a week off before they start playing in the playoffs. And obviously they'd be looking at the play-in tournament, whoever ends up being that number 7 seed. Things would get very interesting if Lakers don't win tonight against Dallas. I know we're going to get very sidetracked with we can get very sidetracked because it's Lakers and the Mavs. It's Luka's first game back in Dallas. Anthony Davis going to have a little bit of, I'm sure he's going to want to have a revenge game. All that stuff is in play. However, here's what nobody can forget here. Lakers got to get a W tonight. They really, really are in a position where when I'm doing that post-game show tonight, they have to be walking away with a win. Basketball Reference, here's where they got the Lakers as far as their playoff predictions here. It's not even a playoff prediction. It's the playoff probabilities report. Right now, as we sit here, Lakers have a 67.7% chance of locking up the number 3 spot. That's down about 25% from what it was a few days ago. That's what happens when, you had Warriors win yesterday, Clippers win yesterday, Memphis won yesterday, Minnesota lost. So Minnesota, fell further and further back. So 67% chance of locking up the number 3 seed. If the playoffs, the highest, the team with the best chance of locking up the number 6 seed, that's if the Lakers get number 3, is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're at 24%. So just to kind of give everyone an idea, that's what we're looking at from a probability perspective of where the Lakers could potentially end up when the dust settles here. They could end up, if they are locking up that number 3 seed, they got to get a win tonight. So there's all the side stories that are going to go on tonight. Obviously, there's the story about what happened yesterday and Luka again thrown out of the game, and then Luka coming back to Dallas. I hope what's not lost in all this, Lakers really need a win. And by the way, this game does mean something to Dallas as well. They're still trying to fight with Sacramento for that 9-10 spot. So in that play-in tournament, that they have one of those seeds as well. So still a lot at stake, and still obviously a key game tonight. All right, let's see what we got here. Let me get to 1-2 comments or so, and then I want to get to our guest here. Okay, we'll get back into that. I know people want to talk about Michael Malone as well. I want to welcome in our guest, second appearance here on the Sleeway Show, and very appreciative to have him on, Kevin Gray Jr. Kevin, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm well, Alan. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Nice to see you as well. Just a normal regular season game tonight. Just another more hype to this game, or when you guys played the Hornets earlier in the year?
I mean, Charlotte's always a big game. Come on, man. What you talking about? Of course, it's always a big game when we take on the Charlotte Hornets, man. It's Seth Curry playing his 15th revenge game against the Mavericks, that kind of thing. So yeah,
I like how you already had a storyline ready to go there with Seth Curry. I wasn't expecting that. Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming back on the show. Really appreciate your time. So Kevin Gray, a part of All City Dallas, All City Sports Network. All right. So, last time we talked, I know it was still a lot more fresh when the Lakers were, Luka was a Los Angeles Laker. Walk me through what kind of your expectations are tonight. What should we be expecting in Dallas? And none of us will be able to talk about it the way you can. So would love just your thoughts on it.
It's going to be a very emotional night. It has already started. We have already started to see some of the images coming from inside the arena with the T-shirts that will be on every seat inside the building tonight. Translated from Slovenia, meaning thank you everything, is thank you for everything. I'm sorry, is what it says on the shirts. There will be a tribute video for Luka Doncic as well, reportedly tonight. So it will be very, very emotional in a lot of different ways. There will be sadness, frustration, anger. I imagine a Fire Nico chant or two will break out throughout the course.
They'll kick them all out. They'll find all of them. They'll kick them all out.
Good luck with trying to get 20,000 fans ushered out of a building all at the same time. But yeah, this has been since the trade went down. Obviously, the first game in Los Angeles, I think, kind of helped Luka in terms of some of the nerves of facing his team. But it'll be unlike anything we've ever seen for this franchise with his return tonight. And I can only imagine the emotions that are going to be flowing through him through the hours leading up into the game. And then when he walks through that tunnel for the first time as an opponent, to the time he steps onto the floor for the first time since Christmas Day at the American Airlines Center, where, of course, the lasting image of it we have of him in a Mavericks uniform is him limping off in that Christmas Day game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we didn't think that would be the last time we ever saw him in a Dallas Mavericks uniform, but that's where we are now.
Okay, so you're going to have a better idea of his personality. I think for a lot of Laker fans here, we're basically trying to catch up. You know, the last 60 days is our watching Luka every single day. And you guys did it for years, 6+ years or whatever the case is. I know this is an odd one as far as his emotions tonight, but is Luka the kind of player where before the game starts, this is all, oh my gosh, you know, I can't believe I'm back here, and the emotions from the fans and the tribute and all that stuff. Game starts. Is Luka going for it? Is attention shift from I love Mav fans to I'm playing this game to try to show the front office how idiotic they are? Like what do you think just watching Luka in the past, or this is kind of, it's uncharted territory, so you don't really know?
I think it's an uncharted territory because this is a player who throughout his career has thrived on, in a lot of ways, being the villain. I mean, you look at how he comported himself when in Game 7 against the Phoenix Suns a few years ago, and destroying the Suns in Game 7 of the West semis. Last year in the postseason, what he did to Rudy Gobert and the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals in that game winner, you know, on the road against Minnesota, feeding off the crowd. Obviously, y'all got a crash course of it last night as he jaws with fans. And JT Orr decided that he was talking to him, I guess, versus an actual fan. So this is how Luka has dealt with, you know, being an opponent, you know, on other, you know, players and teams' floor. It'll be different tonight because he's going to get showered with a lot of love, a lot of praise, a lot of, you know, adoration and everything else that comes with his time being here. That I'm not sure how he's going to handle it. I can imagine it would take probably maybe, you know, half a quarter for him to kind of settle in, just because there's going to be, every time he makes a basket tonight, there'll be 20,000 screaming fans, you know, happy that he made a basket, which if you're a Maverick, that's going to be rather jarring listening to every time an opponent makes a basket. But I think it'll take him a little bit to kind of process what's happening, because, I mean, honestly, we don't think we've ever seen anything quite like this before.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's, you know, I kind of don't really know what to expect. And as somebody who's, you know, obviously a fan of Lakers basketball and wants to see them lock the number 3 seed up, and you're coming off the game of just how the ending happened yesterday against the Thunder. As I sit here, it's like there's going to be so many distractions to this game. I'm going to be curious when you get to halftime, what did it look like? You know, because I don't know what to expect. I don't – is AD taking this game so incredibly personal? You know, I mentioned right before you came on, and you could speak better to this, this is a meaningful game for the Mavs as well. They're not in the number 13 spot in the West, and it's just, a couple of days left until they take off to Cancun. They got these games are meaningful as well. So I think from that perspective as well, I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around what to expect here. But when the dust settles, it's an important game for both teams.
It is. It's an important game for both teams. And, you mentioned Anthony Davis. I had a chance to talk to him, yesterday. And, one of the things that he reiterated is that, for him, there's not going to be emotions for this. Obviously, he did not play in the first game, in Los Angeles when the Mavericks returned and played there. The Lakers obviously had a nice tribute video for him, having won a championship, everything else. But he's a player that's been through this before and being traded to a different situation and having to deal with the emotions of coming back for the first time. So he has taken the approach that he's going to just compartmentalize it as much as he can, try to make sure he helps his teammates get through it as much as he can as well, being, one of the leaders on this team now. But he understands that there's going to be a lot of emotion in the building. When I asked him about that, he said that, for him, it's just about coming out and just playing the game, embracing and having fun with it because, as you mentioned, the Mavericks are trying to, lock up the final play-in spot, in the Western Conference and then try to go from there. So it's an important game for them to win. But at the same time, Davis, I think that's one of the more forgotten parts about this. All the focus has been on Luka. But Anthony Davis was also traded in the middle of the night without knowing either. So his emotions and trying to process all this as well, I think has been an underrated discussion part of this because of who he was traded for. But in a lot of ways, Davis is dealing with some of the same feelings and emotions because he was the other guy, traded without warning from a team that he thought he would never leave. I would imagine being with one of his good friends in LeBron James. So,
it's funny, Kevin. I think the way it sounds like your conversation with AD, there's a little bit of what you love about AD and what you wish was a little bit different with Anthony Davis. So I'll tell you what I mean by that just from more of a Laker perspective. AD should take tonight personal. Just a personal opinion, right? Like, yes, you were traded for Luka Doncic. Nobody's questioning that. But you're also Anthony Davis. You're not, some random backup, forward that's in the league or center that's in the league. I would not, I don't know if it's shock, surprise, whatever the case is, but if I'm a Mavs fan tonight, as big as this moment is for Luka and saying thank you and all that stuff, I got to imagine Mavs fans are sitting back there too and saying, AD, go to work. Like, why pretend this is not a big deal? You won an NBA championship with the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron, who's one of your closest friends in the league, you're no longer playing with him. You're playing against him. There's a part of me that I think that there was always hesitation with Anthony Davis was there are a lot of guys where there were a lot of times where it just felt like, I don't know if this guy wants to rip your heart out. Where I think some of these other stars, I'll use Luka as an example. Luka, you've watched him much more than I have, but in some of those playoff moments, I'm like, that dude's going for the throat. And I almost wish that you would have told me that AD said something along the lines of, it is personal. I used to play with that team. I have a ring from that team. I'm looking forward to tonight. Maybe that's how he feels and he just doesn't say it. But I do feel like that's an aspect of AD that always kind of missed, at least in the public.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I kind of took it with a grain of salt because I go back to the first game that he played here in Dallas against the Rockets. And, of course, he was dominant in the 26 minutes that he played. It was fantastic. Or the 31 minutes that he played was fantastic in those 31 minutes. But he had a dunk that led to a timeout, and he clearly yelled and roared, like, I'm here. Like, there was clear emotion from him wanting to prove to Mavericks fans that, hey, you might have lost out on Luka. And he even said this. It's like, I want to show the fans that, look, they may have lost Luka, but I'm here now, and I'm going to be the guy that can help this team continue to win it moving forward. So, I think there will be emotion for him. It's a little bit different with the Lakers being, on the other side in his, I guess technically now in his building versus the first time where he was playing the Lakers and he was coming back. So I would imagine, he'll be somewhat emotional, but he's also on a minutes restriction. So, he's been getting more and more minutes as he's returned. But initially he's been on a 25 to 28 minute restriction. So there has only been so much that he could do in the time available that he has. So we will see how much more he plays tonight. I can imagine that his minutes will get extended a little bit more just because, I mean, again, they need to win this game in a lot of ways if they want to secure a play-in spot.
Yeah, I've seen you at the end of some of your podcasts. I've heard you say, I'm here. Like I've heard you do that, and then the podcast ends. So, I mean, it's AD is taking some notes. He's taking some notes. Kevin, out of curiosity, just to kind of stay with, I could go so many different angles here, but just as we get ready for tonight's game and the decision to bring Anthony Davis back, there were a lot of times, you kind of heard some of the chatter of no, shut down AD. I was not a proponent of that from the outside, just kind of looking in. I thought if AD can go, it was important for him to play and give at least Mavs fans and Dallas fans something. And again, that's if he's healthy. I'm not telling you that this guy should be coming back limping on the court or anything like that, but if he's healthy. Since he's come back, since a couple of the other pieces have come together as well, what is this team? And what if you're a Laker fan getting ready to play the Dallas Mavericks tonight? We know Kyrie's obviously gone, but they got a few of these other pieces back. How competitive are they? What do you expect tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they're coming in on a 2-game losing streak. They got blown out in both games on the road against the Clippers.
Yeah.
They sat AD on the first night of the back-to-back to give them the best chance to, try to win the next game. I don't think they planned on Kawhi Leonard playing the second game of the back-to-back, which he hadn't done in over a year. But defensively, they were just bad. They were bad in transition. They weren't great in terms of any of their defense at all, even with Anthony Davis on the floor. His best game came last week where he had 34, 15, and 5 blocks, and, of course, the game winner against the Atlanta Hawks. And that was kind of the first time since the game that he had against the Rockets where he looked like that guy on the floor on both ends. And he had said after the game, he's like, I had to just finally just play free and be able to just understand whatever happens, because he's still not 100%, healthy. You saw in the second game against the Clippers where there were a couple of times where he was grabbing at the area, the abdominal area where he's been dealing with that, that adductor injury. So he's still not 100% healthy even now, but they do have Daniel Gafford back. They do have Derek Lively back. Lively's on a minutes restriction as well right now, only playing about 15 minutes a game since his return from his ankle injury. So they are very big. PJ Washington, of course, on that front court as well. So one of the things that we've seen teams try to do, like when they lost to Brooklyn, Brooklyn spammed a bunch of 3-pointers and made 23 pointers that night. And really took it to them from the 3-point line. And as we know, over the last 2 games, watching the Lakers against, the Oklahoma City Thunder, bombing away from the 3-point line has not been a problem for the Lakers. So I can imagine, the Mavericks trying to force the ball out of Luka's hands to try to make him beat them as a passer and not necessarily as a scorer. But that could be a problem because, Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent, Jordan Goodwin, LeBron James, obviously Rui Hachimura, I'm sure will be back for tonight as well. And Dorian Finney-Smith, who's been one of the best things about Dorian. He loves knocking down corner threes. He's been one of the best at it for years. So you got a lot of guys that can knock down threes, and that's going to be a problem for Dallas to try to defend tonight. But they will try to pack the paint and make Luka a passer and dare your guys to make 3-pointers, which, again, they may not necessarily be the best formula right now, the way that they're shooting the basketball from 3.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Lakers, you're right. These last couple of games, they're I think 2 halves in a row they've had 15 threes, which ties a franchise record. I don't know if that's the exact model Lakers are going to live by. I prefer the model. The first game they had against OKC in this little 2-game stretch, they were just excellent on defense, suffocating on defense. That to me is when the Lakers are going to be at their best. Kind of less when we're talking about them offensively, more than we're talking about them defensively. And then the offense just kind of comes because you have great players. Like you said, DFS can hit some threes. Gabe can hit some threes. Oh, by the way, Austin Reeves can create. LeBron, Luka. You got, other guys that can create. But I do think they're at their best when they can get stops and how they are defensively. You mentioned Dorian Finney-Smith when the time that DFS was in Dallas and that combo was kind of there with Luka, kind of a nice player. When Lakers made that trade with D'Lo and DFS, I know I'm going back here all the way to before the new year. Did you? I'm just kind of curious here. And then Luka ends up with the Lakers. Do you value DFS? Because I don't know how much he's talked about, but man, there are so many games where him, and I'll use someone like Jared Vanderbilt as a good example. There are players that you don't mention that come a playoff round. They just do these things that help you win a playoff game or win a playoff series. What's your experience with DFS in the past?
Love Dorian Finney-Smith. Dodo was a fan favorite here. He's a glue guy. He's a guy that understands his role and embraces that. I mean, when they made the run to the Western Conference Finals, a few years ago before losing to Golden State in 5, Dorian Finney-Smith, along with Reggie Bullock, played the most minutes in the postseason.
Wow.
For the Dallas Mavericks. And Dorian Finney-Smith, as a 3-and-D guy who could knock down threes, would take on the best, offensive player in terms of his defensive assignment every night, was fantastic and hit big shots for this team in a lot of games. And more importantly, one of Luka's favorite teammates of all time is Dorian Finney-Smith. He has talked about it frequently as when he was the Maverick and now obviously being teammates again with the Lakers, how much he loves Dorian. And one of the things that he was most excited about when he went to Los Angeles was that he gets to play with Dorian. So, yeah, Dodo was a fan favorite. I'm sure he will get a very nice ovation tonight as well when he is announced during the starting lineup because Mavericks fans still very much love Dorian, especially being an undrafted guy who worked his way to becoming a really good player in this league. And I personally am very happy for Dorian. He was a really good cover here in Dallas as well.
Yeah, he feels like a guy that needs to be on a deep playoff run. You gotta have guys like that on playoff runs. You mentioned we were talking a little bit earlier about Luka, and you had hit on these last couple of games against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I just want to get your thoughts here real quick on what was your take, and I'm curious if you think getting a chance to be around Luka as much as you guys were and watching him every single day. Luka gets thrown out of the game yesterday, gets a second technical foul. Clearly, I think there was some kind of, you want to call it miscommunication, whatever you want to call it. I don't think he should have been thrown out. All right, let's just kind of leave it as is. It's not the first time Luka has complained to referees or, he's obviously kind of created this stigma. Is that a problem? Is that an issue? As Lakers are getting ready to go into the playoffs, is he very strategic? Hey, okay, I got one. I got it off my chest. It's not going to be a problem the rest of the way. But I was mentioning this yesterday. I was reacting after the game. And, if you got a technical in the second quarter, you might not know. Maybe you got a double T in the third quarter, and there's other players just baiting you to try to get that other. Obviously, anything can happen. And you saw how the Lakers just completely collapsed the moment Luka was out of that game. All your time kind of covering Luka. Any issue there as we get ready for the playoffs? Can it be a problem?
He understands when to turn it down and when to turn it up when it comes to his conversations with the referees. I mean, he's going to be a player that's always going to jaw with refs. That's just part of the Luka Doncic experience. But he has understood for the most part how to manage that in playoff situations where he's not getting himself ejected and tossed in games of importance, especially in playoff situations. Now, obviously, folks will go back to game 3 of the NBA Finals against the Celtics, and that was probably the worst I've ever seen Luka Doncic in terms of the way that he handled himself with officials and the complaining and everything else, not getting back on defense because he was doing too much jawing with referees. Unfortunately, that's part of the experience with him. He's a mercurial superstar who thrives when he's getting, when he's beating other opponents, but also feeding off of other things that he may or may not create himself when he's on the floor. So I don't think that's something that Lakers fans have to worry about in terms of him jeopardizing opportunities to win in the postseason. But it's something that's always going to be something with him, and he'll get a technical or 3 in the postseason. But he won't do anything to jeopardize himself getting tossed out of games. He understands the importance of that. But yeah, he can be very mercurial, obviously, when it comes, just to put it lightly, when it comes to officials in the league.
What do you make of the West right now as we kind of just take a little bit bigger view on this? obviously it's fascinating. You're looking at the number 4 through number 8 that are all separated by a game or half a game or whatever it is. Michael Malone just gets fired. He's out in Denver. Obviously, we know Taylor Jenkins is no longer the coach for the Memphis Grizzlies. OKC, I don't know how much stock you want to put in their last 3 games, but got blown out by the Rockets, got blown out by the Lakers, and we're in another dogfight with the Lakers until Luka got ejected. Houston has been, give them all the credit in the world. They've been phenomenal. They're at the number 2 seed, and that's locked up. Warriors add Jimmy Butler, and they're all of a sudden a different team. There are so many storylines in the Western Conference. As you sit here, can you give me just the teams you feel a little bit more confident in, maybe teams that you feel like have too much stock and you have less confidence in?
One of the interesting storylines I'm interested to see how it plays out. Obviously, with Denver firing their head coach, Memphis firing their head coach, how quickly can they rally their troops together to try to make a run? I mean, if I'm Denver, I don't mind the idea of trying to rally the troops with a dude who can go for 60, 10, and 10 in a game, who's, potentially about to win another MVP. But, Jamal Murray's health, that's a question. What's left of that team, and can they pull it together? But the team I'm most interested in is the Houston Rockets. Last year they had what was a 10, 11 game winning streak to kind of end the year. They almost made the play-in. We're on the outside looking in. But this year, this is a team that defends like crazy. Sure. I love Amen Thompson as a player. The question for me will be, I guess there are 2. Number 1, who's going to be the go-get-it guy in terms of the last 5 minutes of a game in a playoff situation to go get a bucket when they need it? Jalen Green could do some of that at times. Şengün maybe. But, Houston defends like crazy, but also they don't score a lot. They're, a team that's bottom 5, bottom 6 in terms of field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. They don't shoot the ball really well. And I'm interested to see what happens when they get into playoff situations, because I think they're very well coached, and they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs, no matter where they get knocked out. But Houston, to me, is a very, very interesting team. And Ime Udoka is going to have them well prepared, and I'm interested to watch them play. But, I mean, the West is incredible. I mean, people will say it's maybe a little bit down just because, the win totals of some of these teams isn't nearly as high as maybe thought coming into the year. But the competitive
beating each
nature,
other up.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're all beating each other up at this point. I mean, 1 through 8 is pretty insane when you think about, the Memphis Grizzlies being an 8 seed potentially and being close to, 47, 48 wins. It's just kind of mind-boggling. But Houston's a team that I'm very much looking forward to watching to see how they play out. And the matchups will depend on a lot too. I mean, right now, as it stands, I mean, your Lakers will be taking on the Golden State Warriors, I believe, in round 1, which, I mean, come on, man. Luka, LeBron, and Steph, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler in round
Not
1.
Yet. Can we do round 2? Not yet.
I mean, I just say, like, it's
man.
It's pretty incredible. So the West is going to be a lot of fun to watch this postseason. The Clippers, speaking of LA, I mean, they've won, I think, 5 straight. Kawhi Leonard's he's and defensively they're really good. So yeah, the West is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Kevin, great stuff, brother. I know we got a fun game coming up tonight, Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks. Really appreciate your insight, and thank you for joining the show a second time here.
I appreciate you, Alan. Appreciate the invite, man. Anytime.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
So, you got it.
All right, that's Kevin Gray Jr. right there. All right, good stuff. Good stuff from Kevin. Yeah, I always like the outside looking in. Somebody else kind of telling me what they think about the Lakers, and obviously Lakers got the Mavs, and you heard what he was saying, how emotional this game is going to be for Dallas. Okay, cool. It's emotional. It's awesome. Go get a W if you're the Lakers. They got to go get a win. Like, as best as I can describe this, they're still trying to lock up that number 3 seed. And the only way they're going to get that number 3 seed tonight is a big step towards locking up that number 3 seed. I still saw some of the probabilities here. There's still, so it's a 68% chance number 3, almost a 15% chance at number 4, an 8% chance at number 5, a 5% chance at number 6. There's still a world out there that the Lakers can still be a number 8 seed, believe it or not. A 7 or an 8. That's crazy. All right, I don't think that's going to happen. I think, obviously tonight Lakers will have to roll up their sleeves and handle business and make it happen. All right, I got to give some love here. Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Personal relationship with Brad Wallace. A great person who I've known for about 5 years. Consider him a friend. He's been giving me some great advice on the business side of things, on running your own business. Somebody that supported me when I was on 710 ESPN, now supporting me on YouTube. He could potentially help you. I hope you never need an injury attorney. I hope you're never in a position or a predicament where this comes into play, but things happen in life. And if you do need somebody, trust me when I tell you, I can introduce you to the best in the business, somebody that can help anybody in the state of California, somebody that I'd put my name behind and I can make a personal email or introduction to if you ever need him. If someone if you or someone you know was in a serious injury, you should reach out to Brad Wallace. Let him walk you or your family through your legal options. I'm sure it's a very intimidating and daunting process. Let an expert in the field help you. He can help anyone in the state of California. If you ever need me to make an introduction, like I said, I'm happy to do it. You can go to our URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Get a free consultation. Again, hope you never have to reach out to him, but if you do, he'll be happy to help. The URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, and he can help anybody in the state of California. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. All right, let's start taking a look at some of your comments here, and then got a couple things on the NBA. We'll do a little Ask Slee. All right, let's see what everybody else was saying. The reality, by the way, thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you. The reality is this. Luka complains too much, and he called the ref then lied and said he was talking to a fan. Luka wanted a foul call on Hartenstein. Those were legit calls. Stop it. Said it before, I'll say it again. If the conversation is about Luka complaining too much, I am not here to disagree with anybody. I think Luka complains too much. If it comes with the territory, all right, comes with the territory. He's a superstar. Superstars are going to get away with things that a role player is not going to get away with. There was not a world yesterday that Luka should have got thrown out of the game for the 2 techs that he got. We will agree to disagree, but I do appreciate the 10 spot. And I do appreciate the super, and I do appreciate you being on the channel. So thank you for being here. This was kind of interesting. While I was talking about Anthony Davis with Kevin Gray Jr., is there a lot of hate towards AD? AD just didn't have it no more as a Laker. Dissing AD is nasty work. AD, a dog, sometimes. Is it safe to say that there are... I'm going to sneeze here. Excuse me. Is it safe to say that people not feeling AD? I'm still an AD fan. I'm still an AD fan. I am. Now, I'm also telling you that Anthony Davis was, he had a ceiling, and I mentioned it to Kevin Gray that I wish some of the things that AD was saying, I know he's not going to say this publicly, but he should be saying this behind the scenes. Guys, we are winning tonight against the Lakers. I'm stepping on the throat of the Los Angeles Lakers. You guys follow me tonight. That's what he should be saying. I don't know if he is going to say that, right? I don't know if that's in his DNA, but Pau Gasol or AD. Oh, I love me some Pau. What game was I at? Was it the Warrior game that I was at? Pau walked right by me. I'm like, that's Pau. It's Pau. It's one of the greatest Lakers. You guys know what I mean. He was obviously there for a lot less time, but made to the NBA Finals 3 times. I just love me some Pau Gasol. Feel bad for Anthony Davis. What if Dallas trades him and he starts bouncing around the league? He's still a very valuable player. What you just can't have AD be is you just can't have him be your number one. You just can't. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You can't hand him the keys to the franchise, because if you hand him the keys to the franchise, he's going to probably say, yeah, but I just kind of want to drive in the passenger seat. Yeah, sometimes I like to drive. It's like going on a road trip, right? Somebody always wants to take the wheel and say, I'm getting us. Let's go. 8 hours, I got it. Somebody else is like, I'll go like 2 hours. That's AD. AD, I'll go a couple hours, and then you could take over from there. All right, let's see what else we got here. AD in shape is one of the top 2 players in the NBA. He's one of the top two-way players in the NBA. Oh, no, that's what you said. Top two-way players. There you go. There you go. I tried taking your own comment. One of the top two-way players, no question about it. All right. Couple things on the NBA here real quick. Thank you all for being a part of the show. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Please subscribe to the channel if you've yet to subscribe to the channel. NBA news here real quick. By the time we got off air yesterday, it wasn't too far long after where Michael Malone and GM Calvin Booth were both fired from the Denver Nuggets. You know what I got a little bit difficult of a time thinking here? And maybe this is part of the strategy. I have no idea. I wonder if the Memphis Grizzlies with Taylor Jenkins basically said, look, we're going to fire Taylor Jenkins at the end of the season anyways. This team isn't going to – they just don't feel like anything's going to change. Maybe this firing of Taylor Jenkins wakes up the rest of the team and they're able to go on a little bit of a run because they already knew the end was coming in Memphis and they're going in the wrong direction. And that's it. This thing is going to end anyways. We're going to fire this dude anyways. Let's fire him now and see if the interim head coach and the way the rest of the players respond, let's see if that gives a little bit of a boost to the rest of the season. I got a feeling that this is what was happening in Denver. Apparently, Michael Malone and Calvin Booth didn't get along at all. We obviously know the direction that the Nuggets are heading in. By the way, I think for Denver, a lot of the reason why they're losing it, they're not healthy. You don't have Jamal Murray. Take the second best player off any team in the NBA. All of a sudden, you're expecting to win. They're not healthy. That's why I think the Michael Malone thing threw me off. The Michael Malone thing threw me off because if Jamal Murray was there, you would think that Denver's a tough out. Okay, maybe they don't make it to the NBA Finals, but you think they're a tough out. But they've also won an NBA championship before. The only thing that I could think of here is if they already made the decision, we're firing these two anyways. We're heading in the wrong direction. Maybe a lot of players were bitching and complaining. There were some clips that were popping up about Michael Malone and some of his post-game pressers and things along those lines. Maybe there's a disconnect between the players and everything else, and they're rolling the dice. But this one is a much bigger shock to me than the Taylor Jenkins one was, even though the Taylor Jenkins one was a big surprise as well. Big surprise as well. Okay. Couple things here real quick. One or two more comments here, and then I got one more thing on the NBA, and then we'll keep things moving. If you got Ask Sleeves, today's Wednesday. Wednesday, we do Ask Slee. Ask me any question. We shoot the shit a little bit. Random questions. It could be whatever it is that you guys want. If you got any Ask Sleeves, throw them in now. I'll start kind of looking at them in a few minutes, and then we'll go from there. The other thing I want to get into in the NBA real quick. So just to give everyone an idea, the games that mean something tonight for the Lakers. So Lakers got the Mavs, obviously. By the way, early tip-off, 4:30 tip-off. That game's on ESPN. You know ESPN is salivating for this game. That game's at 4:30. You can have all the drama and the storylines you want to it. Lakers need a win. I hear the other games that will matter for the Lakers. Spurs at the Warriors, which means Warriors will be winning another game. Okay? Nuggets playing the Kings. This is not a lock for the Denver Nuggets, the way they've been playing. So I'm actually really curious to see what happens here. You should be rooting for the Sacramento Kings. You really should be. Now, Sacramento kind of just did something really random here. They've won 3 games in a row, one against Charlotte, who cares? They won at Cleveland, and then they won at Detroit. So all of a sudden, the Kings have put together a couple good games. You should be rooting for the Sacramento Kings to get another win tonight. They play Denver. And then Rockets at Clippers. That's a phenomenal game. That's a really, really good matchup. Obviously, you should be rooting for the Houston Rockets. I don't know what the Rockets' strategy is going to be. I have no idea how many guys are going to play, not play. I have no idea. But that's a few of the NBA news right there, and those are some of the games that will be coming up later tonight. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments. All right. Let's see what we got here. Dino, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Twice there. I don't know if you did one by accident, but thank you for both. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the supers today, by the way. Got a few good ones here. Here's another super. Jimmy Robinson with a 10 spot. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm not a fan of players consistently complaining about fouls, but Luka gets fouled a lot and there's no call. Sunday's game, he got pushed around and no calls. I understand his frustration sometimes. I'll tell you this, Jimmy. Let's say he gets fouled. His problem is he's created a reputation for himself that even when he is fouled, it feels like there are plays that maybe it's not, it's not worthy of a whistle being blown, and he's still complaining that, it loses its strength, its power, its value. If I'm complaining every single time when I get home, when I have something to really complain about, it loses its value. So I think that's unfortunately what he created for himself. And listen, maybe he has, obviously a reason to complain, but I think it's safe to say, I don't think many Laker fans are going to sit there, and I'm sure Mavs fans and NBA fans are going to say, well, Luka never complains. You don't associate those two. But should he have got that second tech yesterday? Of course not. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate the super, brother. Okay, let's get a few Ask Slees in here, and then we'll keep things moving. Slee, want to hoop tonight, 6:45 p.m., Highland High School. Thank you for the invite, brother. But I retired. Long ago. Slee, who's your GOAT? Greatest player I've ever seen play the game is Jordan. That's the greatest player that I've ever seen play the game. I will tell you the style, my favorite player, and this is why I got into the NBA, Magic's my favorite player of all time. That's why I started watching basketballs, because of Magic Johnson. And stylistically, the way he plays is I love I'm the quarterback, but everybody eats. I get involved. By the way, I grab rebounds, I dish out dimes, and I could get myself 25. I just love that style. I love how he kind of had control of everything. He was the lead singer, but everybody had kind of their opportunities to shine. So let's see what else we got here. Couple more Ask Slees in here. Could have used 8 threes. You'd have had 8 3-point attempts. I'm not telling you were going to get 8 threes. I'd have shot 8. I'll go with the Converse All-Stars. Yeah, Converse All-Stars. You guys know this. I'm not exactly a big shoe guy. That's not my world. Do you play any musical instruments? Not at all. I'm the least talented when it comes to any music. The least. Just can't do it. Something wrong. Something's not something's I have like a malfunction in my head. That's awesome. Some of these comments on there are pretty funny. All right, let's see what else we got here. I love how everybody was trying to associate Michael Malone getting fired to him talking shit about the Lakers. I always love how Laker fans were just straight up taking credit for that. Slee, your take on the entire year. Honestly, this has been as exciting of a year that I could remember of Lakers basketball in a long time. Let me tell you what I mean by that. You just kind of it wasn't expected, like out of nowhere. First off, the Lakers were playing pretty good before AD and Max Christie got traded. And then once obviously they got traded, you got Luka. The storylines are insane. There's something to talk about, it feels like, in every single game. The West is phenomenal. The Lakers are playing really good. JJ Redick has been a phenomenal coach. There's a lot of matchups that you haven't really seen before, so you're not really knowing what to expect. It's crazy to kind of, this has been one of the more interesting years that we've had. All right, let's get another one in here. I agree. Season was an amazing, if you compare it to last year. Just completely, I guess you could say, surprising, if you put it that way. Come on, guys. Come on. Have you seen the highlights? Now, I will say this. You will have a size advantage on me, but come on, guys. I was always shorter than everybody else. You just got to find a way. Just got to find a way. All right. Ooh, favorite in-dunk game you've ever seen? Jordan's dunk. I'll give you a couple. Jordan's dunk on the Knicks when he faked like he was going back to the top of the key, and then he reversed, went baseline. I think dunked on, was it Patrick Ewing? And I don't know who he dunked on. He dunked on half of the Knicks. That's funny. I was thinking this one as well. Kobe on Dwight Howard, but Kobe also had a dunk where he went baseline against Minnesota. That was a phenomenal dunk as well. Vince Carter in the Olympic Games, jumping over the 7-footer. I'm trying to think. The best block was Shannon Brown. You guys remember that block? That block. I got one. I got my favorite dunk. Kobe in a preseason game at the I think as a rookie at the Thomas and Mack in Vegas. I forget who he crossed over, sized up, dunked over Ben Wallace, and then Chicken Stew lost it in the broadcast. That one I remember as well. That was one of my favorite ones. And that was kind of Kobe's like, who the hell is this kid? So I think that was a good one as well. All right, my people. Scottie Pippen posterizing. Yep. John Starks dunk. There's another good one right there. Thunder can't beat the Lakers. All right, everybody feels a lot better after the last couple of days. All right, good stuff. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you for hanging out today. Thank you to Kevin Gray Jr. for coming on the show. Phenomenal job from him. I really appreciate his insight. Coming up tonight, Lakers, Dallas Mavericks, 4:30 tip after the game. We'll come back on and do the post-game show. Thank you very much for being here. Looking forward to doing tonight's game as well. Lakers need a dub. We'll see what happens, and we will see you guys tonight. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you this evening.